Ah, hello. Hello and welcome by. Thanks for coming by and sprinkling your love here. I was talking Monday, not yesterday, Monday, about magic. If you were to visualize magic, what would it look like? I pictured like wispy movements with little twinkles, and like if you were to run your hand through the air and it left a trail of magic, what would that look like? How often do we think of even things like that? Thanks so much for coming by. Welcome to Zenful Conversations. We're here in this community every single day having these conversations about being present this year, present for our own lives. And it is no real easy thing to do because of the craziness that is ever so present. That we have to sift through and sort through and decide what to bring into our days and what not to. And I think to me, there's a lot of play, a lot of give there on perhaps what I do allow into my day, and perhaps if I'm a little more conscious and a little more present, a little more self-disciplined, maybe not all of it would come in. Just a conversation on being present this year. And like I said, we're here every single day. We're in our 6th year. So I really appreciate the support and the community. Thank you for sharing. The Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo is the book that we're following this year. This New York Times best-selling book is described as having the life you want by being present to life you have. And the message we're offered today is day number 1956, is titled The Spaces in Between. The spaces in between. I'm already getting a warm and cozy feeling about this message. I like this already. So let's just take a moment to soften our overall being and breath, and maybe come a little more inward, releasing some of this and coming a little more in, a little deeper in. The spaces in between. There's a quote by Sang saying, "There's no need to seek the truth. Just put a stop to your opinions." There's no need to seek the truth. Just put a stop to your opinions. Ooh. Just as life is made up of day and night, a song is made up of music and silence. Friendships, because they are of this world, are also made up of times of being in touch and spaces in between. Being human, we sometimes fill these spaces with worry, or we imagine the silence as some form of punishment, or we internalize the time we are not in touch with a loved one as some unexpressed change of heart. Let's take a breath with that. Do we recognize any of it? I'm going to read it again. We sometimes fill these spaces with worry, or we imagine that the silence is some form of punishment. Oh, she's not talking to me. I don't know what. I don't know. I don't know what's up her ass. I don't know what I did, right? Or we internalize the time we're not in touch with a loved one as some unexpressed change of heart. She must not like me anymore. Wild, isn't it? Our minds work very hard to make something out of nothing. We can perceive silence as rejection in an instant, and then build a cold castle on that tiny imagined brick. The only release from the tensions we weave around nothing is to remain a creature of the heart. By giving voice to the river of feelings as they flow through and through, we can stay clear and open. In daily terms, we call this checking in with each other. Though most of us reduce this to a grocery list. How are you today? Do you need any milk, eggs, juice, toilet paper? Though we can help each other survive with such outer kindnesses, we help each other thrive when the checking in with each other comes from a list of inner kindness. How are you today? Do you need any affirmation, clarity, support, understanding? When we ask these deeper questions directly, we wipe the mind clean of its misperceptions. Just as we must dust our belongings from time to time, we must wipe away what covers us when we are apart. Let's take a couple breaths here. There is vulnerability in this. I'm going to go out on a limb and say vulnerability is where I meet truth. It is there where we're naked enough to see it. But there's vulnerability in this because if somebody is quiet, there's some kind of Well, I'm not going to say anything if he's not going to talk to me. There's some kind of something there. If we could just bypass that, we realize that all this other stuff didn't even happen. It's all in here. But that vulnerability is really such a beautiful space that unfortunately is a bit challenging to dive into. I'm liking it. I do it. I do it. I think I do it. I think I do it here daily. It's a scary space from time to time, though. But I do think it gets to something real. What's real? What's true? The spaces in between. I love the quote at the beginning. There's no need to seek the truth. Just put a stop to your opinions. So the truth is here. These opinions are what's covered up. All we just stop all this, and truth still stands. Silence. Another very interesting thought to ponder, because last night I was in a group and we were talking about silence and how the silence, when left going on a little too long, how it makes people feel uncomfortable. The majority feel uncomfortable, and people start like, well, did something go wrong? And a little bit of commotion and fidgeting and all kinds of stuff, when we're just holding silence a little bit longer. Majority, not everybody. Some practice silence and find great pleasure in that space. So for me, I think we're talking about being present for our lives here. And a good portion of these messages have been about what we're missing out on. To me, this message is saying, hey, pay attention to your relationships here. And the way that we check in with each other. Do you need any milk, eggs, that rattle off, Can we deepen our relationship with those we find closest to our heart? Let's hear the meditative exercise that's offered to us today. So bring it in and breathe again, center again, and meditate on what these statements mean to you. Meditate on what these statements mean to you. And then speak them to a loved one. Ready? Meditate on what it means to you. And then later, speak them to a loved one. I appreciate you and your heart. I appreciate you and your heart. I want the channel of heart, to be wide open between us. I make a promise to you that if misunderstandings or conflicts should grow between us, I will share them with you directly and not let them build or grow in a hidden way. I would count the same promise from you as a blessing. What do you think? That realness, this is what we're talking about, is true. Bringing it down without any bullshit. What do you think that would do for a relationship? Any relationship. I appreciate you and your heart. Hello, how often do you think this person that you love has heard that from anybody on this planet? I want the channel of heart to be wide open between us. I appreciate the opportunities this year this book has given me to reflect on my behavior in life, who I represent, how I represent, and how it feels, how I feel, how it feels. Let's not lose sight of that first paragraph, that there are times of silence. It's natural. And Lord, this is a busy, busy life we've got going on. But I know it. I recognize it when I see it, when I hear out there like, oh, he hasn't called me in a while. Like, well, he's probably got a lot going on. But we tend to think something else. And there are relationships that go years, possibly forever in this form, because of probably something silly. And it brings me back to the top 5 regrets, of the dying. Thanks so much for being here for this conversation. In gratitude. Namaste. See you tomorrow.